When I say DC Comics action figures, what is the first brand that comes to mind? In other words, what is the quintessential DC action figure line? For some people, it's Mattel's DC UC, and for others, it's DC Direct or DC Essentials or DC Icons, one of those. Some love Mafex, or others like NECA. Maybe Mezco, Hot Toys if you're bougie. I don't know, like Lego is pretty good. I don't know, like Mini-Mates? I don't know. But for me, it's the Mcfarlane Toys DC Multiverse line. Okay, I know what you're gonna say, blah, blah, 7-inch scale, Mcfarlane, side-eye, blah, 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 whatever. I don't care. For the price and for the time of my life that these figures started coming out, it is my DC universe in action figure form. But, like everyone else, I'm not gonna sit here and glaze Mcfarlane. I got reservations about their figures. All right, sometimes they got really odd proportioning, or the paint jobs don't do the sculpt justice, or the engineering sucks pretty much all the time. Like, straight up, they're so close to being well engineered, but like they're just very slightly off to where like you can modify the figure in like 5 minutes and it'll be perfect, but like they just miss every time. But whatever, that's not the point. Point is, unlike Batman, where people consider the Nightfall body as the magnum opus of McFarlane Batman figures, Superman still hasn't had that. Well, at least as of July of 2023. Speaking of, let's time travel back to July 2023 for a second. All right, it's the summer of Barbenheimer, the Titan submersible. But also, Superman got a lot of traction again. He's always been my favorite superhero, but this summer we got My Adventures with Superman, we got Superman and Lois Season 3, and most importantly, James Gunn announced a large portion of the Superman 2025 cast. You tell me David Cornswell is Superman? And Rachel Brosnahan is Lois Lane, and Nathan Fillion is old Guy Gardner. But it's safe to say that I was unbelievably hype on the character. I mean, this is around the time that I got really deep into comics, and as a customizer, I needed to indulge. Another background, I'm a customizer, and I've been customizing for like years. And over the years, I've had countless attempts to make the ultimate McFarlane Superman figure, but no matter what different bodies and different parts I used, if it was the Action Comics 1000 body or the Infected body or the head from DC Direct or like Marvel Legends parts, whatever, it didn't work out. But this summer, I had to lock in. And here was my answer. The perfect McFarlane DC Multiverse Superman figure. Well, not really. It looks amazing, but I have a lot of problems with it. But, let's go back to the beginning so I can show you how I got here. Like I said, I've always tinkered with trying to make the perfect Superman, but it never really worked out. That was until I got this Doomsday 2-pack, and I started playing around with the Superman figure and brainstorming with Kid Bash ideas that I've had in the back of my mind for like a year. And with super hype only growing, I knew it was finally time to actually make my move. Okay, note, these progress pictures are from July to August of 2023, so keep that in mind for later. All right, for the recipe. I started with the Dark Knight Returns upper torso and the Doomsday 2-pack legs, the torso from that figure, the trunks, and the arms, except for the shoulder cap. So pretty much the entire Doomsday 2-pack figure, which is just the infected body, and then the Dark Knight Returns upper torso. And also a Rebirth head sculpt, which is, again, the same as the Action Comics 1000. All right, after a whole lot of sculpting, and I mean a lot of sculpting, a lot of tinkering with making parts fit, this is where I ended up. I only had one problem, and it was one really big problem. Paint rub. Okay, let me explain what paint rub is. Very quick explanation. It's just when the joints rub on each other and the paint rubs off because there's not enough space for the joints to move. Okay, see, as a customizer, I'm actually not that bad at preventing paint rub. In fact, I'm pretty good at it. Not to toot my own horn, but the problem is that for this figure in particular, I didn't anticipate on needing to prepare for paint rub. That's because the idea was to put all the parts together, sculpt over the pegs, and then just match all the things that were sculpted or dark blue to the lighter blue of the Doomsday 2-pack figure. But once I got deep enough into the figure, I realized that was no way that was going to happen. There's literally just no way I was going to be able to match the blue for the entire figure. So I had to sand down the figure externally, which worked for the most part. And by externally, I mean I didn't take them apart and sand all the joints. And that worked really well. Except there were a few areas that gave me a headache. Around the shoulders and the legs, which I ended up kind of ratifying, except I really had to sand down the trunks and the inside of the arms, which, I mean, you can probably see, but whatever, it's fine. So I ended up making him just like 96% paint rub free. I know, I'm a fraud, kill me, whatever. But anyway, I painted it using Vallejo model paints. I used a hand brush for the base coats of blue, and then I used an airbrush to achieve this kind of subtle shading, which is really hard to capture on camera, but it looks really, really cool in person. I shaded the darker areas with a darker blue, and then highlighted the lighter areas with a more yellow blue to kind of contrast that, and I love the way it looks. As you can see in the progress pics, I pretty much had to resculpt the entire upper torso so I could sculpt a 3D logo, and then also I could make the lower chest kind of fit the aesthetic I was going for, which is a much more of a strong, very thick Superman. It also features a cloth cape that I made from an old t-shirt. I mean, I could have printed out a logo, but I don't have a Cricut cutter. I don't feel like doing all that, so I phoned in that part, but whatever. The head, of course, is a resculpted Rebirth head, which is also the Action Comics 1000 head, and oh yeah, the hands for this figure are custom. I grabbed an old NECA Flash Gordon, and then I just dremeled them to fit Mcfarlane's peg joints, because Mcfarlane gives Superman like really, really big hands, and I have no idea why. So a lot of people asked me what specific source material I was looking at when I was making this custom, and I'm gonna be honest, I just really wanted a chunky, like a cornbread-fed Superman. And I mean, I also had some direct references. For example, the logo is pretty much like copy and pasted from the Christopher Reeve logo. I just kind of adjusted it a little bit to fit the size of the chest so it didn't look super weird. I also wanted the belt buckle to be gold with like a little silver trim. It's not really from anything specific. I just thought it was cool. I mean, I guess you could say I was inspired by the DC Direct robot Superman that I thought, looked cool from. He also came with Beppo, which is awesome. There's no reason to mention that. I really like monkeys, and I think it's really cool. The head is heavily inspired by Frank Quitely's art in All-Star Superman. It's not a direct rip from it because I didn't really directly translate his features into action figure form. It was mostly kind of the aesthetic and the silhouette of the head and the hair that I wanted to capture. It's not really the head that I actually have displayed on it now. Earlier this year, I got a DC Direct Secret Identity Clark Kent, which was a grail for me for like a long time. So I used his head on the figure, and I had to modify the inside of it to make it work. The old head actually goes on this other custom I made. It's an Earth 2 Superman, but I modded the proportions and the articulation and whatnot. Let me know if you wanted a video on this. The articulation for this guy is actually not that bad considering how beefy he is, but I still think he could do a little better. I think the big reason that he moves so well is because I shaved a lot of space down in the torso and in the arms and whatnot, so he can move a little bit. But I don't know. You can't get him into too many fun poses. All right, let's see how this guy scales with Superman. These are both customs. Again, let me know if you want a video on them. Superman again. Superman Earth 2, which is probably the best Mcfarlane figure so far. Again, this is customized. The NECA Superman, which is probably the best Superman figure of all time, I'm not gonna lie. Mafek's Hush Superman. This is not the best Superman figure of all time, and anyone who says that is wrong. DC Direct Superman. Batman, the Nightfall body that I referenced earlier in the video. Batman again, the one on the left is modified a little bit. Wonder Woman, again, it's a customized head. Lex Luthor, again, DC Direct head swap. Mongol. Ultraman. Bizarro. Zod. Lobo. Some random Marvel Legends I had lying around. And last but not least, Booster Gold. Just because I love him. Again, it's another custom. As you can see, I have a lot of customs and customizations and mods and repaints and whatnot. With this being more or less my first YouTube video, I'm assuming most of you guys don't follow me on Instagram. I would love it if you could follow me on Instagram. If you don't already, it's at Figures. The reason I actually made this video is because a lot of people have been asking me for more info on this guy. It's probably the custom that most people followed me from that one post I did months ago. And I got a ton of content on there too. I got a lot of mods for things like engineering, like the inside of a figure, or things like fixing proportions, and I do a ton of resculpts and repaints on there. It's a great time. Actually, if you go to my page, I have on my highlights on my stories, I have like almost all of my custom work logged there just because I post a lot on my story. Speaking of custom work, if you like this head sculpt, not the DC Direct one, but this custom one I made for the figure, this could potentially be yours. I'm doing a very small run of 10 of these heads that will become painted and fitted for the Action Comics 1000 body and also the Dark Knight Returns body, and they should be up for sale either right now or like very soon, and it's going to be through my Instagram, so if you follow me there, you'll get more information on that. If these heads do well and there's a high demand for them, I might invest in making more and making a few bigger batches, maybe even in different sizes if I can get my 3D printer up and running. So I really appreciate you sticking through this entire video. It's probably really long and Low-key, I'm saying a lot of nothing, but at the end of the day, I'm just some kid who really loved collecting and making action figures, who still loves it to this day, and I love to branch out, so a like, subscribe, share, and follow on Instagram would be really helpful. And hopefully, if all goes well, I should have another video up very soon. A video you can watch for all seasons.